Chamber to moderate the upcoming session, which the topic is investing on the exploration, new projects, as well as the expansion of the mining sector in Mozambique. Mr. Gerard Clark, please, you have the floor. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gerd Clark. I'm the CEO of Mozambique Mines Chamber. I'm also the general manager of Jacob Graphite Mines, which is a mining company on graphite back in Cabo Delgado, and I'll be the moderator of this session. This morning, we had the presence of His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Mozambique, mentioning the expectation of an increment, a significant increment on the supply of, on the demand of mineral, mainly the critical minerals. We also heard the Minister of Mineral Resource and Energy talking about the energetic transition and fair. Here currently on this panel on the mining sector and mining to talk about the details, the in-depth details on, in other words, what does it mean to Mozambique. Portanto, no nosso painel nesta tarde, no nosso painel nesta
benefit from this expected increase in the demand for minerals and critical raw materials in particular. We know now that the whole world is scrambling for sourcing these critical raw materials. How are we positioned? What, as a country, do we have to offer, and how can we benefit from this opportunity? Before I introduce the panel to you, I'll first introduce our keynote speaker, and he will give us the view from the United States because he is the ambassador of the United States of America. Mr. Peter Froman, may I ask you to come to the stage for your keynote speech?
Boa tarde. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests and panelists, and fellow participants at the Mozambique Mining and Energy Conference. It is a great pleasure for me to join you today, and I want to thank all of the organizers for inviting me to speak with you. Mozambique is a country with incredible wealth of natural resources that can feed electricity production with traditional fuels such as coal and natural gas, and vast untapped potential in renewables, solar, wind, hydropower, and as I learned last night from some of the distinguished panelists, even waves. Mozambique has great potential in critical minerals, which have become essential for the global energy transition and the development of clean energy technologies. Graphite, lithium, tantalum, and titanium all are found in Mozambique and are used in the production of electric vehicles, battery storage, wind turbines, solar panels, and many other technologies. The United States government advocates that mining activities are done responsibly, sustainably, and equitably, with the utmost respect for the environment, workers, and local communities. These resources present an opportunity to create jobs and drive economic growth here in Mozambique, in the United States, and globally. Mozambique can be part of a just and inclusive, clean energy transition that creates prosperity. Mozambique should be a critical link in a robust and sustainable and transparent supply chain that support the clean energy transition. At the same time, the financial and regulatory environment in the sector should promote transparent and accountable natural resource management. In this regard, the government of Mozambique has an important role to play to ensure that bids on mining concessions are transparent, that successful bidders are qualified, and finally, that the winners of these concessions comply fully with Mozambique's environmental, labor, and safety standards. U.S. investors are interested in the LNG sector and renewable energy projects here in Mozambique. Last June, the United States and other partners launched the Minerals Security Partnership, or MSP, which seeks to strengthen and diversify critical mineral supply chains for the clean energy transition by identifying and supporting strategic mining, processing, and recycling projects that adhere to high environmental, social, and governance, or ESG, standards. And we are dedicated to partnering with Mozambique to expand this work together. Indeed, the U.S. Department of Energy is already working at supporting the mining of high-quality graphite and adding value to it. At the Africa Leaders Summit in Washington, D.C. in December of last year, the White House announced a U.S. Department of Energy proposal to work with Mozambique on a comprehensive assessment of opportunities to expand domestic energy access, support responsible natural gas and clean and renewable energy deployment, and, importantly, adding economic value to the critical minerals production and processing that takes place and could take place here in Mozambique. At the U.S. Embassy in Mozambique, here in Maputo, we actively encourage potential U.S. investors in Mozambique to look for ways to add value in the post-mining value chain. For our part, as a government, we are supporting the government and people of Mozambique by investing directly in the development of transportation infrastructure that will facilitate the bankability of energy and mining projects throughout the country. For example, this year, the second Millennium Challenge Corporation Compact in the central province of Zambezia will help develop roads and bridges that will make it easier for companies and citizens of Mozambique to get their goods to market, whether mining ore or agricultural products or goods and services. Advancing the government of Mozambique's Energia para Todos, the relatively new U.S. Development Finance Corporation, or DFC, is providing an 18-year direct loan of $200 million to the Tamani Power Plant project, which includes a transmission line. Even though the major players in the building of that line and that power plant are not U.S. companies, this adds to the development potential for Mozambique. And these investments and many more are needed and will support the growth of the mining sector as well as the economic growth of Mozambique for its citizens. In conclusion, the United States government is fully committed to supporting responsible mining of critical minerals in Mozambique, and I believe that these mining investments will not only support the global energy transition, but will bring the benefits of employment, skills, and development to Mozambique. There's a lot we can accomplish, and I look forward to working together with you to make it happen, and to listening to the forthcoming panel for their specific ideas as people who are deeply involved and experienced in this business. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. I think this is a very good start. It tells us, in part, a bit about the expectations from Western countries, in this case the United States of America, and the theme of certification. So in order, I think this is a trend that we're seeing in order to be able to supply to some jurisdictions like the US, but I've heard the same discussion as well in Europe. I know there's legislation in the works where there's more and more talk about certifying the supply chain and knowing, where your minerals are coming from, and how they have been produced. Have they been produced in accordance with the latest standards on human rights, environmental standards, etc. At the same time, it's good to hear that the US is supporting Mozambique and helping Mozambique to overcome some of the infrastructure deficit in terms of roads, bridges, and even the electricity supply. So thank you very much for that keynote speech and introducing the topic. We're now each panelist is going to do a brief introduction. O primeiro panelista é o diretor-geral do Instituto Nacional de Minas, o engenheiro Elias Daoud. Ele não vai apresentar em muitos de pormenores, já tem o Conference App. At the Conference App, you can look up the bios of each of the speakers in details. So eu vou passar a palavra ao engenheiro Elias Daoud. Se faz favor. Pode ficar, se quiser, para aqui, como quiser.
Muito boa tarde a todos. Obrigado pela oportunidade. Vou falar sobre.
Thank you for the opportunity. I'll talk about the role of Mozambican government on the diversification and economic development of the mining sector in Mozambique, in conformity with Article 2 on the Constitution of the Republic. The resources which are on the field, on the exclusive economic zone, they are exclusive property of the states, and they should be the ones safeguarding and administrating those resources. The mining activity in Mozambique is exercised in conformity with the legislation and regulations in place, the mining laws, environment regulation, taxation and fiscal benefits, as well as different legal framework on the usage of the mineral resources, as well as the norms on the prevention and protection of the environment, taking into account the aspects, socio-economic and socio-political aspects. The mining sector has been drawing the attention of the Mozambican government, as well as the community and our partners, which are looking forward to see it stated on the legislation mechanism, which enable a main participation of the investor, a greater user of the revenues which will be generated from these exploration and production. Mozambique has a high potential on the reserve, which includes, among others, energetic rocks, ferrous metals, rare metals, precious stones, and semi-precious stones, mineral water sources, building materials, and raw materials, among others. Now, regarding to the process when it comes to licensing, it's said that it should prioritize and through public bid, which is made through the procedures that are set on the legislation and also on the law. It has been established that the public bids which are launched, they can be attended by anyone who is interested on. The mineral resources are exported by the huge company and on a smaller scale through SMEs. We have a cooperative association which do artisanal mining, englobing the populations in the rural area for the artisanal mining for the precious stone, heavy sands, were the main highlight for the rubies, gold and graphite play a key role in the development of the country. For instance, back in 2022, the tax collection was around 7 billion US dollars for the production tax. And during that period, we also register that 12,000 jobs were generated directly. Uh, the infrastructures are also contemplated, uh, being practiced by population in the rural areas. For instance, Mozambican governance conducted back in 2021 the census of artisanal miners, having identified 2,162 focus of artisanal mining, out of which 1,574 are active, 263 artisanal miners and 157,000 commercials, and the volume of sales is around 1.9 million medicals. Based on the census which was conducted in 2021, equivalent to 0.2% of the GDP in Mozambique. The census will enable the government to identify and set policies for the artisanal miners such that this activity can generate revenue for the state. We would also like to highlight the conclusion of the revitalization process for the Mozambique Mines Chamber, which is the main conductor of communication between the government and the miners. Regarding to the challenge, the government will keep on improving the geological infrastructure through the geological mapping in areas which have a great potential, and it will be make some geophysics studies and other studies which will help to have an in-depth understanding of the geological aspect. Through those research, understand what is happening in Zambezi and Nampula province, graphite in Ankwabe, Malamwa, and Metariga, as well as other critical minerals which are happening in general manner all over the country. So we'll keep on promoting in conformity with the vision of the African mining. We will keep on embracing the development of needed infrastructure for the economic development with the main focus on the regions where we have the mining infrastructures. In order to strengthen the mechanism for the safe and secure exploration of those minerals, the government has approved the Article 105, Decree 21 stroke 2015 of 31 of December, in order to include the norms on the prevention and fighting money laundering and finance to terrorism, as well as proliferation of firearms, massive destruction arms on the decree law. In a broad manner, the Mozambican government is concerned in order to have the sector well established and developed. So that's why we'll keep on privileging the geological research such that we can minimize the risk of having strange vessels in Mozambique. As it was said here by the ambassador, it's an essential aspect which now poses a concern in order for us to have a better understanding and have a responsible exploration of these resources. I thank you.
Obrigado, engenheiro Daoudi. Foi bom ouvir ponto de situação.
To have a picture on what is happening on the sector as well as the initiatives which the Mozambican government is undertaking and still going to go for them. But it's also fundamental to listen to the remark that the engineer made that we also have a huge number of artisanal miners which the ministry and INAM conducted a census last year in order to do the mapping of this sector, which also has a great contribution mainly on the employment of the Mozambican. Portanto, a
Boa tarde a todos. Eu tenho uma apresentação preparada.
got a presentation which prepared for you. If you could please assist me projecting it. If you fail to project it, I'm comfortable with conducting my presentation without it being projected. Well, I'll go without my slides. As a starting point, I would like to extend my thankfulness for presentation which was made and greet my panelists as well as the auditory being positioned to project the challenges that we face on the mining sector, but also what is the outlook for the future. So for those who are not familiar with the Bureau Veritas, we are a company which conduct tests, analysis, assessment, and certification, and we have 200 plus years of existence. So our main focus is mitigating the risks of our customers, either it be on the quality area, health, safety, environment, and more recently, sustainability. And the reason why we are here today is to share our experience in Mozambique. We have been here for the past 14 years, and our journey is straightly connected with the main development on the mining area, and we have traced that trajectory hand in hand. So we started our journey back in 2009 when we had our first lab for coal analysis for with huge investment from 2009 to 2012, we established ourselves in Beta and we were responsible for certifying the first coal vessel. 2015, with the finalization of Nakala corridor, we were in position to establish in Nakala establish ourselves in Nakala, and we were the first to certify the first loading of coal which was removed from Nakala port. And parallel with that, in 2017, back then with the investment on graphite area, we also, in partnership with our country, set our lab for the quality assurance of graphite in Balama. And back in 2018, we consolidated our position on that area, operating also in partnership with our customers. The main lab for coal in a mine which is based in Africa. And recently, in alignment with our strategy of diversifying, we are about to open a lab to diversify the metals and minerals which we currently work with within the country, and that lab will be established in Matola. So we had faced some challenge throughout the way, but this shows how much we invested on the quality assurance of the infrastructures in the company, in the country. And apart from the testing, we're in position to diversify our portfolio of services. So currently, we are not only testing those minerals, but out of which the majority has some quality seal, but nowadays we also act on the oversight when it comes to civil construction, oversight for the loading and offloading. We act at industrial level with our capacity of assessing the integrity of the assets, but also very strongly in the training and certification sector, which we provide within the country. So I strongly believe that we are a role model and a clear example on how the mining sector also helps and support the other sectors so that they can diversify and develop from there. So today we rely on 280 workers, out of which 99% are Mozambican citizens. And different area, we have auditors and trainers which were trained, and we also had more than 400 lab analysis, and we also have engineers on our staff, more than 30 engineers certified internationally, which of course enable us to be certified and accredited throughout those years. So somehow we also play a key role on the local content and capacity building of local content. And we also say that the Bureau of Veritas Mozambique is also part of the schooling system. So with that trajectory, I would like to extend here to the panelists and show how we in Mozambique establish sustainably, and we keep on supporting or providing support not only on the mining sector but the oil and gas as well, energy sector, civil construction, agriculture, and I thank you all for your attention.
Company is a good example of the indirect employment that the mining industry is creating in Mozambique. The mining industry needs a lot of services, and at the same time, sampling and laboratory analysis is also a critical part of the infrastructure for mining companies that we need to have inside the country in order to really be able to function to our best abilities. So thanks for that. Now it's my pleasure to introduce to you my fellow board member in the Chamber of Mines, also the country manager of one of the oldest, probably the oldest still operating mining company in Mozambique, at least a big one. They have been around for a while, but I'm sure Gareth Clifton can tell you more about that and will tell you more about that in his introduction. Over to you, Gareth.
Thank you, Gid. My name's Gareth Clifton. I'm the country manager for Kenmare Resources. We own and operate the Moma titanium minerals mine in Nampula province. And today, I'm just going to go through a few points at a very high level that I think all mining operations need to take into consideration in their operations. And then if any of the points I raise you want to know some specifics about how we deal with them, I'll be more than happy to share them. So first of all, just a brief overview. So we operate 3 mining operations which produce heavy mineral concentrate. We then send that concentrate to a processing plant where we produce ilmenite, rutile and zircon. There's various ancillary infrastructures that go with this, such as a power line, a jetty for our exports, an airstrip. And we started production in 2007. In 2022, we exported just under 1.1 million tons of final product. So far smaller than the coal numbers we heard earlier today, but still very significant in terms of mineral sands. We supply approximately 8% of the world's tradable ilmenite, so we are a significant player on the world stage. Over the years, through various phases, we've invested almost $1.4 billion. Sustainability are key metrics that any mining operation has to measure. We consider ourselves to be a relatively low impact mining operation. We consume hydropower. We don't use any chemicals in our processes, and all the land that we mine gets rehabilitated and then returned back to communities for their use. There's many aspects to sustainability that need to be addressed. You need to look at safety. You need to be transparent about how you deal with sustainability. You need to set yourself targets, and then you need to let everyone know how you're performing against those targets. So continuous improvement on safety, increased gender diversity within the organization. Mining is not renowned for its gender diversity, so we set targets for increasing the percentage of women we have in our operation. We have 1,600 employees. Training is essential. 97% of our staff are Mozambican. But when we started operations in 2007, that figure was less than 75%. We've only managed to achieve the 97% through extensive training programs. We invest in communities. We have a development association that purely concentrates on uplifting our local communities. And this operates in 4 areas. It gives support to small businesses and livelihoods. It gives support to the education sector, both through construction of facilities, school facilities, a polytechnic, and also capacity building of the teachers. We concentrate on the health sector. We built health posts, provided ambulances, and actually tomorrow I'll be signing an agreement with the Ministry of Health to guarantee the financing and construction of a new hospital in Ladi, which will be done over the next 3 years. And we also look at water and sanitation. Any mining operation has to look at decarbonisation in the world that we live in. You need to set targets on decarbonisation. We need to get to net zero by 2040. There are many challenges connected with that mining operations need to deal with. And then there's the supply chain. We've heard a lot today about local content. We need to constantly increase the amount of Mozambican suppliers in our supply chain. For example, last year we spent $112 million with local suppliers, and that was 12% up on 2021. We have to continuously increase that spend with local suppliers to ensure that the wider economy benefits from the operations that we are running. And then there's also the question of sustainability in your supply chain. We want our suppliers to meet the same sustainability targets that we have, but that does mean that we need to provide training and support to our suppliers because not all suppliers have the capability to meet the same targets that we set ourselves. So, you know, the title of this session is Investing in Exploration, New Projects and Expansion. So just very briefly to address this, you know, the nature of a mining operation is that deposits get used up and you need to move around your mining concession in order to gain the maximum benefit and extract the maximum amount of ore out of the ground. So in terms of our medium-term future, in 2020, our B plant was transferred to an area called Pilivili in a very complicated operation. Our largest plant, our A plant, needs to move to a new area which we call Nataka in 2025. And Nataka contains approximately 70% of the reserves in our mining concession. So once we start mining Nataka, that's going to guarantee operations for the next 30, 40, 50 years. But these sort of things require significant levels of investment. The move to Nataka, for example, is going to cost us in the region of $250 million. And that move is not an expansion. That move will guarantee current production levels into the medium and long terms. When we look at expansion opportunities, we have to look at other areas. For example, there's an area north of Angoche called Congolone, which we are doing a feasibility study on at the moment, with the intention of putting a fourth mining operation there to feed our mineral separation plant. But everything that any mining operation does has to balance the returns. Shareholders also have to get returns. It's not been an easy road with our project. Since 2007, there have been many ups and downs, and our shareholders have been incredibly patient. Of the $1.4 billion we've invested so far, our shareholders have only seen returns of $200 million in dividends and share buybacks. You know, these upcoming investments that we are going to do will guarantee these returns, but they will also ensure the long-term sustainable operations of the Moma mine, guaranteeing the continued contribution of the operation to Mozambique in the form of employment, in the form of tax receipts, in the form of local content development and expenditure in the wider Mozambican economy, and in the form of socio-economic development, particularly of our local communities. So that's all I've really got to say today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gareth Clifton, for setting the example, showing what is possible for a company to do in Mozambique in terms of the sustainability and building local supply chains. Our next speaker is Prashant Goyal. He is the CEO for Jindal Mozambique. Prashant, the stage is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. So we are into the mining industry from Jindal in Tate province for last 12 years, 13 years. And we are mining coal. So like the role of mining in the Mozambican economy, At present, all the minerals, whether it is coal, gold, titanium, and everything, they are contributing around 4% of the GDP in Mozambican economy. And out of that 4%, 80% is coal. The contribution of coal is 80%. So, yes, there is a talks going on to transition of energy, but coal is the basic energy. Like in the morning, in the roundtable session, one of the ministers, she said that let's start with one Africa, one sun. So that is a very good idea, because if we'll just exclude the natural resources which we have and we will jump into the others, and then in any emergency case, which like last year happened in Europe, they went back to coal-fired power plants. So we have to think on that line. So coal, iron ore, these are our traditional fuel fossils, but until we are not 100% reliable on the either renewable or other energies, we have to develop these mines, we have to do the exploration, we have to develop the mines, we have to extract the coal, we have to use it either in form of to produce electricity or any format. So that is one. Then in Mozambique, for the other minerals like gold, bauxite, iron ore, coal, graphite, titanium, copper, rubies, all these, yes, the people are getting the licenses, they are getting the concessions, but how many are coming up? There are some challenges on the licensing part, there are some challenges on the exploration, on the financing. So to get the finances in Southern African continent, in Mozambique or in neighboring countries, it is difficult. But yes, with the help of the government, if there is taxation discounts or some other discounts which can give the favor to the private sector, the investors will come and they will invest into the mines, and that will certainly, that 4% of GDP, it will grow up. So then there is a SME, which like if those will be helped by the government, and the initiatives can be taken by the government to support them. Either they can be joint venture with the big companies, so that the expertise SMEs are having, only the problem is with the financing or with more expertise or with exporting their minerals or getting the right price. So that can be done with, if there is a joint venture or there is a integration between the businesses or synergy between the businesses of big companies and with the SMEs, that can help to grow the businesses of SMEs. That will certainly help the mining industry to grow, and the SMEs will also be helped in that. Artisanals, yes, they have to be legalized, they have to be given preferences, they have to be given more opportunity, like my colleague panelist, Mr. Daudi, he said that the government is taking more initiatives to promote the artisanals, but if they can be like included into it, that will help us. On the Jindal side, what in 10 or 12 years we have done, we did the geological exploration of around 30,000 meters, that is around 38 kilometers. Still we are doing it. We are running the mine. In 2013, when we first started the export, the production was around 60,000 tons. And we are now at 4.4 million tons. And our plan is to take this mine to 9 million tons. But again, there is a challenge on the infrastructure. The roads are really in a very bad condition. We are talking to the government agencies to get repair all those roads, so that if we are increasing the capacity, the infrastructure has to be built. If that is the lifeline of the mines or anything. So we really request the government to increase, but what we have done, the production till now we have done around 20 million tons of ROM. Well, we have a plan to go ahead with at least 9 to 10 millions per year, so that will be just doubling. We have the reserves of 337 million tons of coal. Then on the CSR, we took around 40 students from here to India for doing the PhD, doing the law, doing MBAs. So those 40 students from 2015 till 2019, they were educated in India, and all the expenses were borne by the company. So that was done. In the contest of rehabilitation, we were supposed to shift around 330 families. We have already handed over 290 houses of type 3, and the villagers have been shifted to that, the families have been shifted. Another 35 houses are ready. It is just a matter of 15 to 20 days when the government official will inspect, and then we will hand over that. So if the industries are coming, the mining industry is coming to any area, we can see the growth, we can see the development in that area. So 4% is not the limit for the GDP. It will be much, much more. Thanks. Thanks.
Thank you, Parshant Goyal, for reminding us about coal and the role coal is still playing and still has to play, and the benefit also that it can bring. Before I open up the floor for questions, I would like to address a first question to the panel, if I may. I'd like to ask the panel, what in your opinion can Mozambique do to position itself to take advantage of this rush for the critical materials that we've heard about so much already? Who would like to take the question? Engenheiro Daoudi, como Moçambique pode posicionar-se para aproveitar-se desta procura aumentada para minerais críticas?
Muito obrigado, Dr. Gert. Os minerais críticos
Minerals nowadays play a key role on the energetic transition. The European Union might play a key role on the in-depth understanding and knowledge of those minerals, but not only that. The most important aspect on my standpoint of view is that they should also help us to come up with appropriate technology in order to promote the transformation of those products within the country. Not only has added value, but also to boost the economic development at the continental level, and also employ more people. We have been working with European Geological Services on the development of some researches at the continental level through the Organization of African Geological Services. And I think that this cooperation will enable the exchange of experience from the geologists of the European Union to our technicians in Mozambique. So on my standpoint of view, we should promote that exchange of experience such that we can capitalize the utilization of that resources for the benefit of our country. Obrigado.
Challenges that you see that we need to overcome to better position ourselves as a country in this race for the critical raw materials?
I'll just say that I think Mozambique needs to attract responsible miners. It needs to have the ability to enforce its own rules and regulations so that everyone operates on a level playing field and that everyone operates in a responsible manner. You know, to touch on your second question as well, that everybody knows the infrastructure difficulties that were just mentioned. They are a brake on new investments into the mining sector. When you have an inability to wheel sufficient quantities of good quality power, not because the power is not available, just because the infrastructure needs development, that does limit the development you can do. The same with the road infrastructure. If the logistical costs of supplying a mine and exporting from a mine are too great, then the mine becomes unviable. So those are issues that need to be addressed by Mozambique to benefit from its resources to the maximum. Thank you.
Thank you, Gareth. I've been informed by the organizers that I can only allow one question from the audience. In the interest of time, we're trying to catch up and we're running late, as you know. Can I invite the audience who has a question? Please raise your hand. There's no questions from the audience. Then I thank you very much for still being with us, and I'd remind you that we still have a session after this session, so don't go away. Stay where you are. Muito obrigado, boa continuação da conferência.
Muito obrigada e solicitar mais uma salva de palmas para os nossos panelistas pela mestria na abordagem.
For them mastering this topic, which is sensitive. For the last session of the day, I will now invite Mr. Rui Mat with CIP, Mozambique regional leader on renewable energy and leader on hydrogens. I thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. On this panel, we will be discussing or debate on the challenges faced by Mozambique when it comes to renewable energies. And for this panel, we will have the opportunity to invite four and I'll call upon them, being the first Eric, which will be with us on call or remotely, and we'll have Olga representing EDM, the Power Utility of Mozambique, and then Susanna from Power Africa, and Ricardo Pereira, which is the Mozambican Association of Renewable Energy, and then Jubilee Bubala, which is an expert on environment and environmental development. My name is Rui Mat. I'm a researcher at Public Integrity Center. I've been indicated as the moderator. And for us to talk about Mozambique as a regional leader when it comes to renewable energy, we need to first have some data regarding to the supply of energy in Mozambique. checked some statistics before I join you here, and statistics have shown me that